Story 1. The Open Door. I want to be clear about something before I tell you this. I am not a man who scares easily. 9 years in the Navy will sand down most of the soft edges in a person, and by the time I got out, I thought I had seen enough of the world's ugliness to recognize it on sight. I was wrong. It happened in December, about a week before Christmas. In a city somewhere in the mountain time zone states, where I was using my GI Bill to finish a college degree. I was 32, exhausted most of the time, and the only way I met people outside of class was through dating apps. She came up on my screen on a Tuesday, pretty, dark hair, a smile that looked like it already knew something you didn't. We talked for a few days, easy conversation, nothing strange, and we agreed to meet at a bar restaurant that was close enough for both of us to drive without much trouble. In person, she was even prettier than her photos, which is not always the case. And she was warm and funny, and we had the kind of first date conversation that makes you forget to check your phone. I found out she worked at the police station in a non-sworn capacity, basically a receptionist. I remember thinking, well, at least she knows how to call for help if something goes wrong. I had no idea, at the time, how darkly that thought would age. She mentioned she had a roommate who was out of town for the holidays. She mentioned, almost as an aside, that she had a crazy ex-boyfriend who used to stalk her, but that he was harmless now. That word harmless sat at the back of my throat, like something I didn't want to swallow. I told her it made me uneasy, and she brushed it off so smoothly, so quickly, that I let it go. We had a few more drinks. The night felt easy, warm, and then she suggested we go back to her place, and I said yes, because the evening had been good, and I had no reason yet to think otherwise. She drove. I followed. She walked up to her front door and simply turned the handle and pushed it open. No key. No deadbolt sliding back. Nothing. I stood on the porch and watched her walk inside like this was perfectly normal. And something very quiet in the back of my trained mind went still and cold. She said she was feeding her cat, and I followed her into the kitchen. And that is when I saw the bowl on the counter. Cereal. I reached out without really thinking about it and pressed 2 fingers against the side of the bowl. Cold.
It's
not room
freezing
temperature.
in here.
Cold.
Something
Refrigerator
feels
cold.
off.
Like it had been sitting there for maybe 20 minutes at most, not hours. The cereal wasn't even soggy yet. I asked her whose it was, and she paused, just a fraction of a second too long, and told me. She had eaten it as a snack before heading out to meet me. But she had already mentioned at the bar that she hadn't eaten since lunch. I started to say something, and she kissed me before the sentence could fully form. And her arms came up around my neck. We moved to her bedroom, and I went to close the curtains the way any person with a functioning sense of privacy would. And she told me to leave them open. Not asked, told. I registered it as odd, but said nothing. Maybe 5 minutes passed. I was facing away from the window, and then I heard it. Not a scream, not a word, but a sharp inhale. I turned, and her eyes were fixed on the glass behind me. I spun around, and there was a figure standing just beyond the window, who'd pulled up, face lost in shadow, perfectly still for 1 long second before turning and running. I was off the bed and moving before I had consciously decided to move. Navy muscle memory. I ran to the front door to check the lock and found it standing open. Not broken open, just open, unlocked, waiting. I threw the deadbolt, and not 3 seconds later, something started hammering against it from the other side. And here is the part that still keeps me up. She called from the bedroom and told me to come back to bed. not in a frightened voice, not in a voice that was trying to be brave. I want to stop here for just a second. If you're the type of person who would have actually gone back to that bed, I genuinely don't know what to tell you, friend. If this kind of story is what gets your blood going, you might as well hit that subscribe button now, because it only gets worse from here. And there are a lot more nights like this one waiting for you on this channel. Here is something I want you to think about while this story keeps going. There was something in that apartment that I noticed but did not understand until much later.
It can't be.
Something that was there the entire time, hiding in plain sight. What was it?
Did you hear that?
The first person to answer correctly will receive a small reward from me. The storyteller tonight, as a way of saying thank you for watching and supporting. I will not tell you what the reward is. You will have to trust me the way I trusted her, and we both know how that turned out. And while you're here, tell me where you are right now and what time it is where you're watching this. I'm genuinely curious who is awake for this kind of story. The banging moved. That is what undid me completely. It stopped at the front door and started up again at the side of the house. Rhythmic and patient, like whoever was out there was not panicking, was not angry, was simply reminding me that he knew the layout. She was still in the bedroom, still calm, still inviting me back, and I stood in the hallway between the locked front door and the room where she waited, and I thought about the cold cereal, and the open door, and the curtains she had asked me to leave open, and the ex-boyfriend she had described as harmless. And I felt the shape of something I could not yet fully name settle over the entire evening like a second skin. Something outside keeps moving even after the door goes quiet. And that is the part nobody warns you about. I made a decision standing in that hallway, and it was not a brave one. It was a calculated one, which is a different thing entirely. I could not leave. My car was back at the bar where we had started the evening, and calling a cab or rideshare meant buying myself time I did not yet have, which meant I needed her talking, and I needed her in that room, and I needed her to believe. I was still confused rather than certain, so I went back, not to the bed. I stood near the bedroom door with my jacket and my shoes already within arm's reach. I had moved them there quietly, the way you move pieces on a board, and I started asking questions. Loud ones, accusatory ones. I called her out on the door being unlocked. I called her out on the cereal. I told her openly that I thought she was lying, and I asked her to explain herself with the kind of direct eye contact that tends to make people either crumble or escalate. She did neither. She deflected. She reached for me. She smiled in a way that had no warmth left in it at all. Like the warmth had been a setting she had simply switched off once it was no longer useful. And the banging continued outside, moving from wall to wall with that same dull patience. At some point during those long minutes standing in her bedroom doorway, I quietly opened my Uber app and requested a ride without telling her, without looking down at my phone for more than a second at a time. Driver was 2 minutes away, and I kept arguing, kept her talking, kept myself positioned near the door with my shoes on and my jacket half zipped. When the car appeared at the curb, I did not say goodbye. I did not explain. I opened the door and I ran across the lawn, and I threw myself into the back seat and I told the driver to go. I looked back once through the rear window.
Something's following us.
She was standing in the open doorway, one hand resting lightly on the frame, watching the car pull away with an expression that was not anger and was not surprise and was not fear. It was patience. The same patience as the knocking, as if she already knew something I didn't. Even now, as if whatever that night had been designed to produce. She was content to simply wait for the next version of it. I reported her account on the ride back. I told the bartender. I went home and I sat on the edge of my bed in the dark for a long time, and I thought about all the moments I could have turned around and didn't. I still don't know what I walked into that night, but I know that door was never locked by accident. Nothing about that evening was an accident. What would happen to my life if, at that moment, I had still returned to the bed on that terrifying night? Comment below to let me know. Story 2. The wrong ride. There is a specific kind of tired that makes you dangerous to yourself. Not the tired that slows your feet or blurs your vision, but the kind that quiets the part of your brain responsible for small, necessary suspicions. I was that kind of tired the night this happened. Early pandemic, restaurants shut, money thin, and a friend had pulled me into a temporary filing job at a medical office that needed someone after the cleaning crew left, which meant arriving close to 3 in the morning. I told myself this was fine. I told myself the late hour was actually safer. Fewer people, less contact. Exactly the kind of arrangement the world was recommending at the time. I opened the rideshare app outside my building, watched the little car icon move toward my pin, and stood on the pavement with my bag over one shoulder, not paying nearly enough attention. When a car pulled up, and the driver leaned across and said the name of the app, casual, easy. Like a greeting between people who already know each other, I walked to the door and got in without checking the plate, without checking the name, without checking anything. The car was unremarkable in the way that should have comforted me, and instead, in retrospect, feels like the most deliberate detail of the entire night. Plain interior. No smell, jazz from the speakers at a volume that asked nothing of you. The driver looked ordinary, young, clean-cut. I turned my phone to airplane mode to save the battery and the warmth of the car, and the lateness of the hour pulled me under before I had made any conscious decision to sleep. When I surfaced, it was to a hand on my leg and a voice saying, "Ma'am, we're here now." And I came up embarrassed and disoriented and thanked him quickly and climbed out before I was fully present in my own body. The car pulled away. I turned to face the building. What I saw did not resemble an office park in any way that mattered. The structure was semi-derelict, dark past the first few feet of entryway, padlocked doors, a window broken from the inside, glass in the hallway in pieces that caught thin light from a source I could not locate. I pulled out my phone and found one bar of signal, barely enough to confirm that the address I had entered and the address I was currently standing in were identical. I had been brought to the correct location, which meant someone had chosen this place on purpose. I did not stand still. Standing still in a place like that at 3 in the morning, I had come up a stairwell on one end of the building. The hallway appeared to run in a wide loop around the floor's perimeter. Somewhere on the opposite end, there had to be a second exit, a second stairwell, something. I had passed a door with a faded stair sign, maybe 30 feet back. I kept moving. I kept my phone raised for signal, stepping slowly, keeping close to the wall. And I was mid-step when I heard it. Not a voice, not a crash, just the sound of weight on stairs. Someone below me, ascending, not rushing, not hesitating, climbing with the patient and deliberate rhythm of someone who already knows what waits at the top. The sound was coming from the stairwell I had used to get up here. My primary exit. I stopped. I pressed myself into a doorway recessed a few inches from the wall, and I ran the calculation as quickly and as coldly as I could. If I moved toward the stairs now, I would meet whoever this was halfway down. If I waited, if I held still and let them reach the top and commit to a direction, I could break the opposite way around the loop and take the stairs before they realized which way I had gone. It was not a good plan. It was simply the only one the darkness had given me. I held my breath. I heard the footsteps reach the landing, and then he stepped into the hallway and I recognized him immediately. He stood at the mouth of the stairwell with his hands loose at his sides and his breathing audible in the silence. He had not seen me yet. He was scanning the hallway with the patient and methodical attention of someone conducting a search. And the difference between a search and a rescue lived entirely in the way he held his body, still unhurried, certain. I pressed deeper into the doorway. The secondary stairwell was 30 feet away in the opposite direction, and he was standing between me and everything else. I broke from the doorway and ran hard in the opposite direction, keeping low, keeping my footsteps as quiet as concrete allows, which is never quiet enough. I heard him behind me, not running yet, just turning, the soft pivot of shoes on grit. And then his breathing changed, and I knew he had seen me go. The secondary stairwell door came up fast on my left, and I hit it with my shoulder, and it swung open into a darkness so complete it had weight. And I looked down and saw nothing, no stairs. Just open air and the suggestion of a floor somewhere below that I could not measure with my eyes. The staircase had collapsed entirely. I thought about the eastern stairwell, now behind him and blocked. I thought about the loop of the hallway and every door I had already tried. And then I stopped thinking and I stepped forward into the dark and let myself fall. The landing was not clean. I hit the lower floor on my side. I lay still for exactly 1 second and then I got up. The ground level was darker than the upper floor, and I moved through it with my hands out, touching walls and door frames. Navigating by feel, because using my phone light felt like lighting a signal fire in a place where I did not want to be found. I found a door by running my palm into it, and I pushed, and it held, and I pushed harder, and then, from the other side of it, a light came on so sudden and so total that I went completely blind. White obliterating every corner of my vision at once. And I stumbled backward with my arms up because my body had already decided this was a second threat arriving from a new direction. A voice came through the light, flat, automatic. "All right, this is the police department. Get on your knees, hands in the air." I did not believe it immediately. I want to be honest about that. I was so far past the threshold where belief was available to me that I kept moving sideways.
Open up.
Kept searching for another way out until he put the light directly in my face and said, "Hands out. Hands where I can see them. Sit down right now." And something in the absolute certainty of his tone reached through the noise in my chest and found the part of me that still knew how to follow a direct instruction. I sat. I put my hands out. He moved the flashlight off my face, and I blinked my vision back and
Yes.
saw
Thank
the
you.
uniform and
Just
felt
lost.
something
You're safe
give
now.
way inside my
you.
sternum that was not quite relief, because relief requires the danger to be fully over, and I did not yet know if it was. He walked me outside
thank
to his
God.
patrol car, and I sat on the edge of the back seat with the door open and the cold night air against my face. And he asked me the same questions, twice before I could answer them in any sequence that made sense. He told me he had been patrolling the area, noticed a car idling outside a building that was condemned, that nobody was supposed to be inside, and had come to investigate. He looked around and the car was already gone. The driver had left quietly while we were still inside the building. without urgency, the way you leave a place when you have decided nothing more is required of you there. We drove until the signal returned, and I opened the app and found 4 notifications waiting, the driver announcing his arrival, asking me to confirm the address, saying he was flashing his hazards, and finally informing me that unfortunately my driver had to cancel. I checked the car details. I checked them again. The plain interior, the jazz, the face that looked like someone's younger brother, none of it matched. My actual driver had been on a different part of the street the entire time, waiting, sending messages to a phone I had switched off, and eventually giving up. The man who had spoken the name of the app like a greeting had never been my driver at all. Always check the plate. Always check the name. The dangerous moment is never the one that feels dangerous. It is the one that feels like nothing at all. Story 3. To Tim's. I checked the address against my notes app for the 3rd time that evening. Standing on a narrow street in a city where I did not speak the language fluently, my phone roaming dead since the border crossing, and my only map a memory of a cafe Wi-Fi connection from an hour earlier. I found the house and rang the bell. Nothing. I rang again. And 5 minutes passed in the specific discomfort of waiting outside. A stranger's door with a phone that had become essentially decorative. I crouched and looked through the mail slot, and what I saw made me straighten up slowly. The entrance hall was dark and still. Not the stillness of a house between moments, but the stillness of a space that had stopped being actively lived in some time ago. A sofa sat opposite the door, its fabric grey under a layer of dust so even and thick it looked almost applied on purpose. Furniture along the walls sat draped in cloth, the shapes beneath vague and hunched. I told myself the listings reviews had been recent, and recent meant occupied, and I was simply seeing it wrong through a bad angle. Then an old man came around the corner from the street, walking slowly, listing slightly, looking at me like a man who had been expecting an inconvenience and had just found one. I asked if he was Tim, the name on the booking, and he said yes, unlocked the door. And I followed him in because I had nowhere else to go, and my backpack weighed more than my better judgment right then. The sofa was exactly as dusty, up close, as it had looked through the slot. He led me up a staircase that groaned with every step, and the 2nd floor was worse than the entrance. Sheeted furniture clustered along every wall, a corridor narrowing as it went, and at the far end a curtain of heavy dark fabric that shifted slightly in a draft I could not place the source of. More stairs. A 3rd floor hallway lined with crosses hung at irregular heights. Dark paintings I could not make out the subjects of in the grey light. Cracks branching through the plaster. The smell of cigarettes over something older and damper underneath. He coughed the entire way up, a deep rattling sound that filled every pause and echoed in the narrow stairwell like a building settling into itself. I followed because following was the only direction available, and because I kept telling myself the bedroom would be acceptable, and acceptable was all I needed for one night. He showed me the bathroom first, and I understood immediately that the bathroom was going to be the room that broke my resolve. A hole in the tiling went straight through to the wall behind it. The grout looked untouched in years. On the shelf above the basin, arranged with the casual permanence of things simply left rather than placed, sat a collection of half-used products that did not belong to the house. A bottle of shower gel with someone else's grip still pressed into the plastic. A toothbrush with the bristles bent outward from use. A lash curler lying on its side, like something dropped mid-motion by a person who never came back for it. not arranged for a guest. Abandoned, the way objects are abandoned when the person they belonged to stopped being present before they had the chance to pack. I did not let myself finish the thought that started forming around those objects. He showed me the bedroom next, and I will say this much. It was the least terrible room in the house, which is a specific and limited kind of comfort. The bed was made. The sheets looked clean, but every shelf, every available surface held dolls. Old ones, painted rather than inset eyes. Faces worn down by handling to an expression that was neither friendly nor hostile. Simply present, watching with the patient attention of things that have nowhere else to be. I asked about Wi-Fi. He said there was none. I asked about checkout time. He said it doesn't matter. In exactly those words, flat and incurious, like a man describing a feature of the physical world rather than answering a question. And something about that specific blankness settled into the back of my throat and stayed there. He climbed on to the 4th floor, which sat in complete darkness, not dim but absolute, swallowing the top of the staircase hole. And I stood at the bottom and listened to his footsteps disappear into it and did not follow. I changed quickly. I charged my phone. I went back into the bathroom, and it was only standing there with the abandoned products on the shelf that I noticed what had been true of every door in the house. Since I arrived, none of them locked. Not the bathroom, not the bedroom. The doors closed but did not secure, which meant every room was, at all times, only a suggestion of privacy rather than the real thing. I took what I needed and left for the concert. And before I pulled the bedroom door shut behind me, I folded a small piece of paper and slid it under the hinge side. Low and flush, a small record of whether the door moved while I was gone. I was halfway down the first staircase when the front door opened below me and a man stepped into the entrance hall, looked up and said, "Hey, I'm Tim," in a voice that was perfectly ordinary and therefore perfectly wrong. Because I had already met Tim. Tim was somewhere above me in the dark of the 4th floor, and this man was not him. I smiled. I made 90 seconds of small talk while my internal gauge swung past unpleasant and kept going. Then I left, and I did not run until I was around the corner. The concert was worth it. The hostel I found afterward had a shower with intact tiling and a door that locked from the inside. And I slept the way you sleep when your body has been running on threat assessment for hours and finally gets to stop. In the morning, I went back for my bag. I do not know what made me crouch down and look through the mail slot again. Some unfinished accounting with the night. Some need to confirm what I thought I had seen. I looked, and the old man was there, right there, on the dusty sofa directly on the other side of the door, his face slack and tilted slightly toward the slot, toward me, as if he had been sitting in exactly that position for a very long time. I got my bag. The folded paper under the bedroom door had moved. I did not ask about it. I left, and I kept walking. And I have not stopped checking door locks since. Not because I always know what to do if one opens, but because knowing is always better than the alternative, which is waking up already inside whatever was waiting on the other side. If you are still awake after this, leave the light on tonight. And if something in your room feels slightly wrong before you close your eyes, do not get up to check. Like if the dark feels a little closer than usual. Subscribe so the next story finds you before the silence does. Some houses remember every guest. Some Tims were never who they said they were. And somewhere behind a door with no lock, on a sofa grey with waiting, Something is still exactly where you last saw it.